Hi, Veno here. Here we're going to discuss the manifestation of inversion, as it was established within each part and being of and as this manifested existence. And in that, the manifested stand of and as self-responsibility. The inversion process was done and is manifested to invert everything of each part and being within as and of this manifested existence, to manifest absolute self-responsibility through and as this inversion. That each part being within this existence stand equal and one within and as the point of and as self-responsibility towards self and all as self within as and of this existence. Thus, inversion equals self-responsibility. Now, what does this process and manifestation of inversion of each part and being within as and of its existence practically mean in relation to one's own individual self-process and the process of existence as a whole? Let's start with how existence functioned with all parts and beings before the manifestation and process of inversion was placed, to so be able to more practically see why and how we, as all, have in fact manifested this point of inversion as an inevitability of facing our own manifested consequence of our own creations from and of ourselves. Let's start with the soul construct and reincarnation, presented as the illusion of karma that did in fact not exist within the starting point of being accountable for one's actions within thought, word, and deed, but merely served as a conscience for the minds of those who believe or believed in a higher power, where karma was defined within and in relation to a higher power within existence that one will have to answer to in relation to who one is and how one lives, so as to regulate moral codes of conduct within this world and reality through the minds of human beings. So the thought of and belief in karma was more of a mind-constructed conscience to control the human through behavior than an actuality that functioned or existed within reality. Let's have a look at how and why. The soul construct was the system, the mechanism through and as which beings' pre-programmed life designs were designed, manifested into and as a mind consciousness system that they'd live out within the unified consciousness field that permeated and infiltrated this world of reality. So here in itself, from the get-go already showing how karma in fact could not and did not exist, as everything was predetermined through within and as pre-programming of and as the mind consciousness system designed from and through the soul construct. So each being, whether on earth or in heaven, was in fact but a power source for a and the system within themselves and this existence, as the soul construct and reincarnation process connected heaven and earth, wherein beings from heaven and earth were enslaved into and as. Everything was regulated, checked, predetermined, and preordained within and as beings' life designs, whether on earth or in heaven. Everything that each being experienced as themselves, as their life that they had, and or the position that they were placed within and as this existence, was in fact pre-programmed. So, let us have a closer look at the existence of the soul construct and reincarnation within the particular specific context of and as this discussion in relation to how karma never in fact existed, due to and because of the existence of and as the mind consciousness system in and as which everything and all of self was pre-programmed for and as self, and in that how no one in fact stood accountable for and as their actions within thought, word, and deed. And of course, the manifest consequence each one now will face as self for having accepted and allowed such abdication of responsibility to a system. Three parts of an existential system regulated and controlled the movement and positioning of beings within and between heaven and earth, that manifested a closed system within and as which beings were enslaved, to ensure the continued controlled existence of heaven and earth and the beings within it. These three parts were the unified consciousness field, the soul construct, and the reincarnation process. And it was the existence of an enslavement into and as these three parts that created the outflow consequence of having no accountability of and for one's actions within thought, word, and deed. And this goes for all parts, beings within as and of this existence in relation to accountability. So the unified consciousness field was the interdimensional physical network that permeated and infiltrated this entire world or reality, interconnecting all human beings' unconscious mind to manifest and create a closed manifested system in and as which all human beings' mind consciousness systems was unified, thus referred to as the unified consciousness field, as the interconnection between and of all the unconscious minds integrated all human beings' consciousnesses into and as one, and so interconnected them within and as the field that was structurally manifested as grid-line networks that permeated and infiltrated this entire and total physical world or reality. So this unified consciousness field functioned as the structural manifested domain within and as which human beings would live out their pre-programmed lives. At the moment of birth, their life design, already programmed in and as their mind consciousness system, would imprint, upload, infiltrate, permeate the grid-line networks of and as the unified consciousness field. And so they'd literally walk into a predetermined life, where each human being would be positioned and placed within and on a cross point of the grid lines. And so human beings' individual lives and worlds would be controlled, and with heaven's security forces would ensure each being remain within and on their point within the grid lines, living out their life within their world. I mean, this is also how and why each human being has become so isolated and closed off from the world as a whole, as human beings now are secluded internally and externally to themselves and their life and their world only. And with regards to the pre-programming of human beings' life design within the unified consciousness field of and as this world, this was done in heaven, the moment before entering into this reality with an already designed and programmed mind consciousness system. And this is where the soul comes in. The soul was a mechanism forming part of the mind consciousness system that kept record of and as one's functioning through one's mind consciousness system within as and during one's pre-programmed life design. The soul would, throughout one's life design experience in this world within the unified consciousness field, build up a library of knowledge and information of all of self as mind within, during, and throughout one's life design, and was the manifestation or system from and through which one's next life through and as a mind consciousness system would be programmed, designed, and manifested. And this is where reincarnation comes in. So the soul construct was basically the copying and duplication of and as one's total mind consciousness system, recording and collecting everything of and as self within and during one's existence on earth in the system of mind and consciousness within and without. Once one leaves the unified consciousness field as earth after walking the completion of one's pre-programmed life design as imprinted, uploaded within the unified consciousness field, one exit the game of enslavement and enter heaven, where the fate of your continuation within existence of heaven and or earth will be decided upon based on the data retrieved from and of your soul. The data collection from and of the soul construct was also stored within the library of souls, referred to as the Akashic records. where the records of all beings' lives on Earth as their pre-programmed life designs of and as manifested mind consciousness system were kept. And so a history was kept of each being's lives on Earth and mind consciousness systems they lived out, to, in so doing, always keep beings in line within particular specific life designs, playing out the same life story over and over and over again without remembering, which is in essence the manifested process of and as reincarnation. Reincarnation as the recycling of beings into and as particular specific lives on Earth over and over and over again, deliberately maintained within and as particular specific positions on Earth. So the majority of human beings on Earth would be positioned within the unified consciousness field of this Earth and play out the exact same life experience or design, life after life after life. And so all beings were enslaved and controlled in and as this existence in movement between heaven and earth through the soul construct and reincarnation within the unified consciousness field. So here some overview background on how each human being's life on this earth was in fact pre-programmed and preordained through within as the mind consciousness system, soul construct, and the unified consciousness field with reincarnation. Now that we have the basic now that we have the basic platform layout of how existence functioned between heaven and earth in relation to each being that participated within this existential closed system of reincarnation, the soul construct, and the unified consciousness field of and as earth, let us have a look now at this point of karma within it all. Obviously, an actual playout of and as karma did not exist during this time of pre-programmed life designs, because the purpose of a human life was, from a personal perspective, to enslave, and from an existential perspective, to control. The purpose of life was to remain enslaved and controlled for the functioning continuation of the existential system within heaven and earth, for a handful of beings to exercise their will and power over and of all and be gods. Any higher or greater meaning to a human being's life was but a fantasy construct within a human being's mind, giving hope as the carrot dangling in front of the donkey's eyes, to keep on walking and living in acceptance and allowance of who self is and how self live within the context of self and this world or reality, but never really getting it, becoming or experiencing this higher or greater purpose or meaning to and as life. Just as the donkey with the carrot, human beings look straight into hope, missing the total physical reality of existence that is right here with and within you. And so human beings became lost within themselves in their own world, looking straight into hope, a hope that never in fact really existed, and the real reality that is and always has been here, a breath away, has been missed entirely and completely. Interesting. So with this all, or what this all in fact practically mean, is that in the past, no one faced their own creation as manifested consequence. No one was made accountable for any of their actions within thought, word, and deed. No matter who you were, what you did, within thought, word, and deed, within and during your lives, you'd simply live out your pre-programmed life design as mind consciousness system, pit stop in heaven to reassess or evaluate your lives through the soul construct within the Akashic records, program a mind consciousness system with a pre-programmed life design, return to another similar or exact same life design, re-upload and imprint into and as the unified consciousness field. Everything regulated, directed, and controlled. So karma in terms of life lessons, purpose and meaning of life, paying for your previous lives, mistakes, failures, etc. All but an illusion, a mere construct within and part of the mind consciousness system, forming part of human beings' consciousness to serve as a conscience in and as the attempt to keep human beings' behavior in this world relatively stable through and as the construct of morality. And that was the existence of and as karma in this world in relation to how far taking responsibility for one's actions in thought, word, and deed had gone. Which is no wonder why and how this world has become what it is today, as literally everyone's manifested consequence has been channeled into and manifested as the current existence of and as this world as a whole. This also the obvious proof that karma was never in fact real or here, because no one ever learned anything, only continued creating manifested consequence. I mean, if karma was in fact a reality that in fact changed beings eternally from their past mistakes, failures, deceptions, abuses, etc., then common sense would be that this world should have been a whole other story than what it's telling us right now, which is that karma was an illusion. Manifested consequence is and has been the reality of and has no change as a continuation within repetitive cycles, creating and manifesting the same shit over and over and over again. Change that is real is change that is lived as self in and as the physical, that can stand eternal and that is equal and one for all beings, that all beings can be and stand equal and one within and as that change that is in fact best for all. This is the change we're bringing forth through the process of inversion as self-responsibility, within the manifestation of and as actual real karma, where each one walk the stop and change from the system to life, within a principle that is best for all, equal and one, a point that'll stand eternal. This can only will be done through taking responsibility. Desteni assists and support with the practical living tools and support within and as and during this process of inversion, in facing self, through and during facing self, within and without, stop, stand up and change as a point that will stand and live eternal, within and as what's best for all. And so we change ourselves in this world through self-responsibility, and all taking self-responsibility together equal and one. I mean, understand, consequence didn't go anywhere. Just because we hadn't yet paid for and faced our own creation of and as consequence does not mean it does not exist. Oh, it does. And it has been accumulating and building all this time, where we're now at the stage of life or death in terms of whether we're going to see ourselves through the consequence, stand up and take self-responsibility, or fall and give up or give in. With the manifested consequence having gone to such an extent that if you don't face yourself within and as it, you cannot exist or continue existing. Because the manifest consequence is all and everything of and as you as system, is what you are, is what you exist as. It's all that you are in this current moment. And if you want to live, be life, and so in fact be alive, a life, living here equal and one with and as what is real, living in fact as through and within the physical, you have to face, walk through, and stand up from the manifested consequence as self that you are and have become, and birth self within and during this process. So, manifested consequence. The consequence we have created and manifested through and as our participation and living as a mind consciousness system has continued to accumulate and build within and throughout the world, the physical. As the memories of our life experiences in this world layered itself within the physical reality, as physical reality, and started shaping and manifesting itself equal to and one with the consequence outflows of and as all of our actions within thought, word, and deed, together equal and one. So what this world, this physical reality, in fact is all of our manifested consequence. This was created, manifested, and designed by all of us together through and as the unified consciousness field that unified all our minds together as one. And in that unification, we lived out our minds together, life after life after life, as our thoughts, words, and deeds within and as this world within the unified consciousness field. And so together created, designed, and manifested the consequence that is the current state, existence, and functioning of and as this world on this earth. Therefore, in process, responsibility is towards self as all, as everything that is here, as this physical reality, as this world is self and is of self. And we created, designed, and manifested everything to be and exist as it does through our accepted and allowed manifested consequence that's been accumulating and building, for which we hadn't yet taken self-responsibility. See, within the unified consciousness field, due to the interconnection through and as the unconscious mind, consequence in the form of energy was channeled and redistributed through and as the unconscious into the unified consciousness field and or heaven to always keep the energy within and on earth and heaven balanced. See, consequence is energy. Consequence is what is created, generated through and as one's mind consciousness system in participation within and as the mind consciousness system. So, consequence is all of one's thoughts, words, and deeds that generate energy as a manifested resonant part of self that resonates through the physical into reality. This resonance that form as energy outflow manifestations of thoughts, words, and deeds create consequence as the outflow manifestation of one's participation in and as the mind consciousness system. Now, previously within the unified consciousness field, the consequence each human being created through participation in and as the mind consciousness system was redirected and channeled as energy through, into, and as their unconscious mind and used or utilized in various different ways, such as fueling heaven with energy, charging the unified consciousness field, balancing life designs, where some would power up so much consequence as energy, but would have to remain within their positions within the grid line, because they stood in important positions in the world system, for example. And to ensure their energy do not create or manifest consequence in their own life design, their energy would be channeled into other human beings' life designs. And so, everyone's manifested consequence was redistributed, channeled, and directed into, as, and through the unified consciousness field and existence, so that human beings and the world system would function according to the pre-programmed life designs, and the consequence that was created through energy would not interfere too extensively with already pre-programmed manifested life designs in, as, and of the mind consciousness system of each human being in this world system. And so, in essence, everyone's manifested consequence creating, manifesting, and designing this world as it is today with and as humanity. So, it's definitely not that manifested consequence did not exist and that we're not going to pay for it or face it. Oh, we are, and we're in it right now, this world, this physical manifested reality. Alright, so now that we've got a starting point for and of ourselves in relation to how we got ourselves to where we are within who we are in this existence, in relation to ourselves and this world within the context of responsibility. Let's now have a look at what's happened to karma or responsibility within the manifestation and process of an as inversion. Karma as it should have been now exists as the manifestation and process of an as inversion, where you will now in fact experience yourself within and face directly your own creations within and without. Karma is now in fact a reality for each one individually, where you will answer to you, yourself, within and as all that you have thought, done, and spoken, within as and during this life that you are now experiencing and living in this world or reality. So each one face themselves in all that they are and have become, in and out, within and as this one life only. And so we have this one life only to see this process through in preparing and establishing heaven on earth. If you don't make this one life, it's done. You're finished and your time is up. So, what is this manifestation and process of inversion, and what does it mean for self exactly? With the removal of the soul construct and the process of reincarnation and the unified consciousness field along with it, which was but mere interdimensional systems of energy with no reality or actuality in and as this actual physical manifested existence. All that remained within the interdimensional existence was us, with ourselves, and what was here as this existence, the existence that was created, designed, and manifested together, equal and one, through and as our manifested consequence. So we were literally left with only ourselves and what was here as existence that we created, designed, and manifested together. So obviously what we're going to be facing is ourselves, in as and through our manifested consequence as existence itself. The same goes for human beings. With the end of the soul construct, reincarnation, and the unified consciousness field, all that remained within this physical manifested reality was and is human beings with themselves in this world that was created, designed, and manifested through and as the manifested consequence of and as altogether equal and one. What this means is that within physical reality, this physical manifested world, all the manifested consequence of and as all our past lives is already here in relation to how we exist, function, and experience ourselves within this world as individuals and humanity together of and as the world system. So, in terms of facing the manifested consequence of and as our past lives, we'll do it here in practical physical living in this world, in having to walk through, stand up within, stop and change the current functioning existence and experience of ourselves and all in as and of the world and the system as a whole and everything and all that form part of it and exist in it. So in terms of self, what requires to be faced to be or become self-realized as an actual being here, to start or begin the process of establishing equality and oneness with and as existence as a whole, in as, with and through the physical, is facing, standing up from, stopping and changing self as the mind, as all and everything of and as self has accepted and allowed self to be, become and do within, during and through this one life. Your past lives you face as you walk in and through this world. And now you have to face this life while facing your past lives through transcending the mind and walking into as and with the physical. So you'll be facing your past lives as you're walking the world, and you're facing this one life as you're walking yourself, as your mind consciousness system, to so establish you as a point, as the point in and as this existence, as you, that will, from transcending the mind and being here equal to and one with the physical, start the process of bringing all parts of existence as you back to here, the physical, as equality and oneness. So you've got to walk through the mind, bring all parts of self within back to self here, before you can start bringing all parts of self without back to self here. Fortunately, we only have one mind. This one mind you face as you within yourself is a manifested representation of you as a being that existed within existence throughout time. As I said, most beings here now live the same cycles of lives over and over and over again. So all that parts of you of mind as the mind is and always has been the same. No one and nothing has really changed much. We've always been the same, done the same. I mean, this world is an example of that. No one and nothing ever really changed. So with facing the mind, bringing all parts of self back to self here internally, in and as the physical, and establishing self here as the point within existence as self, you walk the same process without, as bringing all parts of self back here to the physical, to self as all, as one, as equal. It all starts with self. So the process of inversion is the process of responsibility, of self-responsibility, where each one now in fact face themselves within and without as the selves we've created, manifested and designed within this one life and throughout time. And we walk the process of bringing ourselves back to here, to equality and oneness, both within and without, in facing the mind as self and the world as self. With the soul construct, reincarnation and unified consciousness field no more existing, reincarnation has ended. You now really only have this one life to get this done. The birthing of children is the birthing of one's individual and existential consequence, in fact, as what is birthed is the manifested consequence of an as self that can be faced and changed through the children as the future as self. The unified consciousness field no more exists, and so human beings' mind consciousness system are no more interconnected or unified through and as the unconscious mind into and as the unified consciousness field. With this, each human being's mind consciousness system has been inverted, where manifested consequence is no more channeled or redirected into and as the unconscious mind, into and as the earth or world through the unified consciousness field. But the manifested consequence as consequence you manifest through and as the participation in and as the mind consciousness system in all that you are and do in thought, word and deed is inverted into and as self, into one's own physical and reality or world. And literally everything that you are and do in thought, word and deed manifest now into and as self and self alone. Back into self as an instant immediate reflection of an as self, to be accordingly faced, walked through, stood up from and changed. And so each one is now in fact responsible for themselves within every single thought, word and deed, within and as every moment of breath, and within the phase of existence where each one will decide their own life or death. And this here, the manifestation and process of inversion, where each one now will experience and face their very own created manifested consequence, while simultaneously facing and walking through the manifested consequence of ourselves as the past, manifested as this world as it exists in this moment. Thank you.